Assalamu alaikum, dear believers. My name is Dr. Aisha El-Amin, and on behalf of the resident Imam, Imam Tariq El-Amin, and the Masjid Al-Taqwa Talim Committee, which is myself, Dr. Gloria Bashir, and Dr. Lionel Allen, I would like to present to you our facilitator for today, the Executive Director of CIOGC, our beloved member and attorney, and just all around a board member, who does so much for both the masjid and the community, Abdullah Mitchell. I want to make sure that you know that this is being recorded. It will also be available on our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to Masjid Al-Taqwa's YouTube channel, please do. You can find this and other taleems, and as well as our Jumas on our YouTube channel. So without further ado, if you can also please mute yourself so that our presenter will not have any background noise. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat along the way. We will also leave some time at the end for you to ask questions as well. So it's all yours.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I'm here, inshallah, this afternoon to share with you the role of the Council of Islamic Organizations, what it is, and how it can interface with our community for mutual benefit. Let me just ask this. Can I share the screen, or will you display the Dr. El-Amin? Will you display it, or will I do it?
Whichever you prefer. I'm ready or you can if you would prefer.
Okay, yeah, let me just do that, because then I'll just put it in presentation mode, and then I'll talk to the screen, you know, I mean, sounds to the good. Presentation.
Yes. I am changing, so you have ability to share now.
All right, thank you. All right. As just to make sure we're all starting at the same point, the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago is an umbrella organization, primarily consisting of a masjid throughout the Greater Chicago, extending, you know, as far out as Kane County, in terms of its particular membership. Each individual organization as a member has a representative on the council, which is the governing body. And then there's a board of trustees, and then the office staff with me serving as executive director, chief operating officer, and other positions. Now, one of the objectives of the council that we're trying to work more on is how do we engage our members in what we're doing and how we can have activities that benefit the membership. The first area that I like to focus in on is security. And by that, I mean the security of the masjid, security of those that occupy, of the congregants when they're attending a Jummah. At Masjid Taqwa, we do have our security team addressing that, but the federal government, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, does provide for grants that will enable a house of worship to further fortify its premises. And the role that the council has served is we have brought individuals here to talk about how to put the grant together. We have also served and made a guide of that, served as a consultant, and even leading people through the initial steps to secure this grant. Now, the next grant period for this is going to be in the February 2022. And as the masjid is going under renovation, it is something that the community should consider what additional enhancements can be made, inshallah, if it's realized through a grant through the FEMA. And basically, the qualifications are you need to be a 501c. You have to have what's called a DUNS registration, registering with the federal government. It's called a SAMS registration, and then registering with the state of Illinois. because even though this is a federal grant, it's administered through the state of Illinois. And as I mentioned earlier, we have through the another council, the Council of Religious Organizations, we have provided a grant writing seminar, as well as providing application assistance and review of the applications for members. The other issue, an area where we have been involved in of late, particularly with the advent of the COVID with this pandemic, has been housing assistance. I'm sure many of you have heard about federal government funds coming to assist people. The council applied and was awarded a grant for housing assistance. This grant was used for rent arrears, rent for delinquent utilities, and over the last, basically since September through the end of June, the 528 different households were provided assistance, and they distributed $1.2 million. Now, here is more particular, where is this going for us in the future? Right now, we're negotiating with an agency to be a sub-grantee, and the focus of their housing assistance will be in suburban Cook County. This will be open to everyone. So to the extent that you know individuals that would be needing of rental or utility assistance, we should know the procedures or the process should be finalized over the next 2 to 3 weeks with this particular agency for us as a sub-grantee. So this is something that everybody could take, those in need can be taken advantage of. The other thing is, we have been awarded another grant. It's for $200,000 to assist immigrant and refugee families that are also for housing and utility assistance. Yeah, another area that I want to focus in on is called, we're looking at healthcare or health disparities. And I just got one graphic to show, just in terms of how it has a disproportionate impact, particularly on the African-American community, the Latinx community, as opposed to other race or identities. So this is another focus area in ways that the council can assist member organizations in addressing these issues. Right now, the Masjid Al Farouk has set up incorporated a community health center. They're looking to be qualified as a federal qualified health center. So what the support that they're looking for is to have they need volunteer physicians, because they have to, for a 2-year period, have to provide free medical care, working with members to donate medical supplies, assist with their grant writing. The objective of this is to be a template for other more member organizations to adapt to the extent that they want to begin to address this from a healthcare perspective. The other thing I'm going to share, and this is it's a little too broad for me to share, but I did in speaking with Dr. Shabazz in terms of the Salam Wellness Center, Community Wellness Center. Inshallah, we're looking to see how we can work there, because fundamentally the approach that is being taken by the clinic is clearly a model for healthcare in the future, prevention as opposed to acute health care. And inshallah, like I said, once again, is trying to find ways that we can assist in that particular regard. Another program that has been implemented, this was funded by a seed grant from Advocate Aurora Health System, is to set up a community nursing program. The primary focus of this initial grant is to set up a nursing program, almost to serve as an initial contact person, for a contact point for people to secure medical care, or at least to be directed to resources available in the community for medical care. Another function that this particular program is taken under is they're conducting a research relative to vaccine hesitancy, particularly as it impacts on the Muslim community. And inshallah, once again, this is another program that we're looking to be a template to offer to member organizations to set up in the masjid. Another issue addressing is food insecurity. Right now, as some of you may or may not know, the Council of Islamic Organization has a Zakat committee called Zakat Chicago. And currently, this particular committee does support donations for the purchase of food, as well as some capital expenditures like freezers, refrigerators, for area food pantry, Muslim food pantries, extending parts of Chicago, North Chicago, all the way over into Gary, Indiana. That has been an ongoing program, but now in terms of particularly since this pandemic, once again, working with the Advocate Aurora Health System and their community outreach, we are a distribution for fresh produce boxes through the Advocate Aurora system. Masjid Taqwa, alhamdulillah, did receive a distribution of some of those food boxes that were distributed in the surrounding community of the masjid. Where we're heading at with this particular project, or at least as it relates to food insecurity, is currently there were some facilities that someone basically not donated but offered to the council that is now being used as a food distribution center for, and inshallah the intent is for Northern Cook County. We are, the projection is, and what we're working toward now is to establish a, more than a food pantry line. That's why we're calling it a food distribution center, to be placed on the south side of Chicago that would support the food pantries in the south and the west side of Chicago. To facilitate this process, we are currently working with the Greater Chicago Food Depository for identifying resources that can be available not only in terms of food, but some infrastructure that can be afforded through the Greater Chicago Food Depository for support for pantries, food pantries in the community. And ultimately, the objective, once again, is, as this is a new area, learning how to actually set this up to serve as a template for our member organizations. In terms of another area is civic engagement. As some of you are aware, we do host Illinois Muslim Action Day, where we, as a committee, propose bills, meet with elected officials, and we have that, alhamdulillah, some students through Taqwa have also participated in the Senate Page program, or student internship program, where students are offered opportunity to intern with the state senator or state representative for the day to acquaint themselves and be familiar with the legislative process in the state of Illinois. Oftentimes, these internships will lead to other jobs within the a government or elected official's office, and also opens up career opportunities for young people. The other area in terms of the congressional civic engagement is we're hosting virtual meetings that, inshallah, they'll be going to in-person meetings with congressional representatives. The objective of this program is to have meet with the particular representative and have representatives of representatives from masjids that are located within that congressional person's district to basically lead the questioning as well as securing participation. And the importance of this is once again, it serves as a way to highlight or spotlight our voice with our elected officials. And from the feedback we have received thus far, that's, I can say is that the Muslim community is, these representatives are more sensitive to issues of concern to the Muslim community. The other aspect of what we relate in terms of civic engagement is a advocacy training program where we've had consulted with outside agencies who kind of lead a one-on-one advocacy training for members of the community. The next element that we have is what was called the Anti-Racism Task Force. This is a task force that was formed in June of last year, clearly in response to the George Floyd murder, to direct the energies of not only the council, but the member organizations to focus on addressing systemic racism. It is a three-pronged approach, one dealing with education awareness, and these are sensitivity training sessions, awareness, where we had the Muslim ARC leading the discussions there, as well as working with other organizations in the area of criminal justice and advocacy there, and then community service projects. And by and large, the projects that I referred to already in terms of housing, healthcare, food, are part of those elements that are really being led by this anti-racism task force position. The other element that's reflected on this chart is in employment. We're meeting with the community colleges that have various internship programs, as well as Advocate Health is offering internships in allied health professions, such as phlebotomists, diagnostic technicians, and things like that. And I'll address that, inshallah, a little bit later in this presentation. And that's this point right now. And let me focus, when we talk about opportunities, what's in it? How can the masjid benefit from what these programs that are offered by and through the council? Well, right now, we have certain open positions within the council. One is an administrative assistant, a civic engagement lead, a program lead, a communications lead, a social media manager. And as a result of the grant that we're getting, we're going to need a number of caseworkers for the further administration of the housing grants. That really is focusing in on that program for, well, both of them, the one for suburban Cook County, as well as the immigrant and refugee families. So these are our positions. I can share that. I didn't put it in this presentation, but I can share what the job descriptions are for these. And basically, inquiries can be made at info at CIOGC.org. The other thing that I want to really focus in on is, in addition to, let's say, employment opportunities through the council, it is important that as these programs are being developed, a lot of it is being funded through these federal grant programs, and the money is not going to be there forever. But what it does do is it opens up the door for opportunities. Well, I told you about the community nursing program. We have successfully, or basically I have successfully got 2 African-American students involved in that particular vaccine hesitancy program. Both of them aspire to enter the medical field, and this gives them the background experience, let's say, on experience that they need to facilitate their application for the entering medical school. In addition, it also opens opportunities to other where students or young people can find other areas where they can fit in, let's say, the medical field, with the medical field probably going to be the most burgeoning source of employment in the immediate term in the American economy. The other is we have a vaccine hesitancy study also being conducted by Dr. Kamal Eldari. He is a epidemiologist, associate professor at the University of Illinois Chicago campus, and he's looking for Muslim participation, not only as assistance with some interns, but more importantly for individuals to partake in this study. And I guess the point I would say about this is oftentimes when these medical studies are conducted, they're not conducted by people that reflect our demographics. There are no African Americans. And so we're getting medications or treatments that are not really, maybe even to the level of genetically geared or for our community. So it is important that as a community, we get involved. The other aspect of it is I did mention interns and that day opportunity with when we do IMED. But more importantly, we're looking, even as we reach out to through this congressional town hall series, we're following up those series to have in-person meetings with the congressperson and their staff to explore opportunities for internships, and with all those congressional representatives in the area. And another aspect of it is another opportunity is through allied healthcare health careers. Advocate Aurora Health is sponsoring internships/scholarships for students that are interested in allied health careers. And once again, that could be a physician assistant, that could be pharmacy technician, that can be phlebotomist, that can be, as I say, a diagnostic technician. These are just some of the ones that are available. And not only will they're offering an internship, but to the extent that the student completes the program, they are hiring those students within the Advocate Aurora healthcare system. So it's an excellent opportunity for young people who are interested in a career, in a medical career, to get involved in this particular program. The other thing, more so than now personal opportunities, is how does the work of the council, inshallah, support the work of the masjid? Well, to the extent that we have members in our community that now could benefit from this housing assistance, how can we identify those people and then have them being able to apply and inshallah secure some assistance with the delinquent rents and utilities? It is on the agenda for the Al-Taqwa to have its food pantry. And so right now is an opportune time for us as a community to get involved in becoming one of these distribution points as this food distribution point program builds out on the south side and the west sides of Chicago. Another aspect of it is establishing a community nursing program, to the extent that we can identify individuals that will be willing to work in this area. And it serves, once again, as another avenue for people who lack medical insurance or care to not always have to run to the county. This can be a way to provide healthcare resources. And once again, we're also blessed, inshallah, that now we have the Salam Community Health Center that also will, inshallah, serve that particular role. And the other aspect of it is advocacy. How can members of our community join in with some of these initiatives, whether it's related to the food, the housing, healthcare, to make sure we are taking advantage of the opportunities as they present themselves and bring those benefits back within our particular community. Because in essence, it's something going to be put on the table. It's going to go somewhere. Inshallah, we need it to come back in our community. And this is just a graphic here that shows some of the stuff that was done last year as it relates by the council. As I said, at the time this graphic was created, at the end of 2020, we had distributed $800,000 in housing and utility assistance. Since that time up through June, it's gone up to 1.2 total. There was food boxes that distribute not only through the Advocate Aurora, but as well as I said, the Zakat community, Zakat Chicago committee as well. So, and the other things just focus in on, let's say, civic engagement in terms of phone banking, which Masjid Taqwa participated for both the census and getting out the vote, as well as providing distribution of personal protection equipment during the height of this pandemic. So, alhamdulillah, that's an overview. I know I talked a lot. It may have been boring, but I hope some of the points resonated. And probably more importantly, is as Dr. Alameen mentioned at the onset, I'm prepared to answer your questions about the programs and things that I've highlighted in this presentation, or questions that you may have over and above that presentation.
Thank you so much, Brother Mitchell. Do you mind sharing your screen? Thank you. So I'll start us with questions. Feel free to write your question in the chat, or just write your name in the chat if you want to ask your question. You can also raise your hand. For the programs that you're talking about through Aurora, is there an age range that they're targeting, or could this be for career changers, or are they targeting a younger population?
You know, I don't. When we discussed it, it wasn't about just for young people coming into the field. It could be a career change, but I'm going to get the definitive answer for that particular question. But it was my impression as we discussed it that this was available even for people interested in a career change. But let me identify that specifically.
Thank you. Are there other questions from believers? Brother Bashir, please go ahead.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you, Gregory, for that information. And those are significant areas that CIOCG is doing. My concern or question too is that there has been, and you can answer this question, there has been a perceived or unperceived situation with our community and other African Americans with our participation with CIOCG. And what I'd like you to address is that situation so that we may be more participatory and benefit from those situations if we're not involved with a program like CIOCG, or if we're working in that program and for some reason that our involvement is not valued, then we're not taking advantage of what is occurring there. Could you address that issue?
Well, let me begin this particular. Let me answer your question the best I can, and let me start from the point of view. A number of people have interacted with the council and have had experiences that were not positive. Okay, let's negative, however you want to characterize that, including myself. The point that I would like to share with everybody as it relates to that is that, Bashir, I want to suggest to you that's not the focal point that should be in our evaluation. What I'm sharing with you are some opportunities that can benefit the community. If the community participates and develops, the further enhances its ability to, one, apply for grants, because these grants are going, even though CIOGC is applying and it has a widespread, at least in terms of its representation to the grantors of the communities, so many communities across Northeast Illinois. There are other member organizations that have also partaken and have multi-million-dollar grant budgets, and they're small organizations. But the first step is do we have our 501c3, or do we have our DUNS registration? Are we registered with the federal government? Are we registered through the state of Illinois? All right. And here's a process that can open up the door, at least offer some expertise to get those kind of things done. The first program I talked about was at FEMA. And just from personal experience, it's not peculiar to Masjid Taqwa across the board. Most Muslim organizations don't have those initial criteria. Some don't even have a 501c3 because a religious organization is not necessary to have that in order to be tax exempt. But in order to participate in some of these grants, federal grants or even state grants, you're going to need to have a 501c3 designation. You're going to need to be registered. Well, no longer it's done. So it's going to have another system is replacing it. I don't have the name of it, but nonetheless, there is a registration called something akin to DUNS that you have to do. You have to register with the state of Illinois and the federal government. These are annual registrations. They're not difficult, but to the extent that you don't have them, you're not even qualified to apply. These are opportunities or doors that will be, inshallah, available for the masjid. Okay, let's take another area with let's say with this the housing assistance. All right, this housing program can benefit members of the community or not. There's a separate program that we're not tied into for the city of Chicago, but we know we have members that live outside of the city limits, or we know of people who are in need, they're outside the city limits. And this is an opportunity to assist those people with rental assistance and utility assistance. So I guess and then let me make one more point to try to bring home what I'm trying to say. Then with respect to this congressional town hall series, Masjid Taqwa should be leading it for bringing Congresswoman Robin Kelly to this, and should be the one leading the process that I going to meet with and follow up and exploring the internships, because she's going to be Congresswoman Kelly, Robin Kelly is going to be interested in internships for people within her community. So these are the opportunities to, like I said, what has happened in the past, and then to the extent it's even reflective in the character of the present, that's not why I continue to serve in this particular position, because I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is these are real opportunities that we as a community can do it and spread within our community to develop our infrastructure, develop our capacity, and assist the members of the greater Masjid community.
And Greg,
Now,
let me say this, yeah, all of those programs are beneficial, and what the organization is doing is very beneficial. And for us to take advantage of it and also help implement it, if there are situations where, let's say in the past and now, that we're not fully included in that. Because if we're included or we're excluding ourselves for some not unknown reasons, but ill-perceived reasons, then we're not taking advantage of it as much as we could if we were participatory in CIOGC.
Thank you, Brother Bashir, for your questions. I'm going to keep us moving to some other questions and also add that I understand the challenges, but I also appreciate that we have a board member of Masjid Al-Taqwa who now serves as the lead, as the executive director of the organization. And so, inshallah, those changes that we seek are in the works. I want to have a question, two questions in the chat. One is information. How do you find more information about the various programs? Is that on the CIOGC website or another space?
Well, let me do it this way. No, it's not on the website. Some of it's on the website, but inshallah, I'm going to, based on the questions, I will create a document sharing that information and share it so that we can put it out on the community list as well. But if what I would ask is, if people have questions, if you could submit them to info@ciogc.org. Inshallah, I'm monitoring that, and I will get you the answer to your question. Okay. Now, as far as some of these housing assistance, like what I'm sharing with you, we just met Thursday afternoon. We've agreed to do it. Now we got to write an MOU and that. So once that's done, then I'll be able to share that document. It's still in the works as that. The other aspect of it is with respect to the the thing with Aurora Health. They've offered it to make this program available to the membership of CIOGC, and that once again we just got that recent commitment, and now once I get the logistics of how to apply and all that stuff, I would be sharing that with you.
It's really that again speaks to you being in this position that the information is not even really public yet, but you're sharing it with us. So we kind of get it hot off the presses. I appreciate that. Another question, can you give a little bit more specifics on how CIOGC helps with these grants? Are you co-writing them? Are you giving feedback? Or like, what does that relationship look like? If we say, hey, we want to get the security grant through FEMA and you're going to help us, what does that process look like for us?
All right. Let me say what it looks like for others, because look, what for us is a little bit different, because you got me. What I'm saying is, what we have done is we have 3 people who are grant writers for federal, they're members within the organizations that write grants, federal grants. And then what they were doing is they asked people to gather the information together, and then they would review it, in essence, give an outline for how to write it. And then once the applicant wrote it, then they would review it, in essence, tweak it from that particular point of view. Where CIOGC also is to the extent that you don't have one of those registrations. I know we have the DUNS and 501c3. I'm not sure about the SAMs and the GATA, but nonetheless, we can work with someone who's responsible within the organization to do that. I mean, that's what we have done. We had an intern at that particular point in time that would go and meet with the representatives at a particular masjid to help them complete the process to get their GATA and get their SAM registration in. And then as far, now once again, the last aspect of it is going with the FEMA. The FEMA is an application that we need to start working on now, not wait till November. What has happened is, let me just give a little background and I'll be more direct in my answer to the question. I just want to lay the territory. This particular grant is first come, first served. In many institutions where people say, oh, they look at, well, many of the grants were awarded to Jewish organizations or temples, and people are saying, oh, there's preference. Well, what it is they have their applications, the day it's open, they're filing them. So first come, first serve, where if you wait to the end, you're gonna be at the end or out. We have to have our applications ready ahead of time and be ready once they open up to submit them. Now, there are some technical points that you have to wait till the announcement is made, but fundamentally the structure of it in terms of showing a risk, documenting that risk, documenting the vulnerabilities of the masjid and things, suggested ways to harden, as they say, harden it. Those things can be done now. In terms of ways that CIOGC can help, there is a representative, and once again, this is someone with Homeland Security who does these assessments that serves as a template for writing the grant proposal. I also serve on an organization called the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago. This is an organization that has the major faith traditions in terms of the archdiocese, the Lutherans, the Methodists, as well as now the memberships open up to individual churches, primarily in the African-American community. But this organization sponsored a workshop with Rutgers University, their House of Worship Security program, and I mean this is nationally rated. So this is the kind of information we can provide. We can even have the recording from last year shared, but it's understanding the process and then working through it. What we need in terms of going forward is to identify individuals who will work on this, and then inshallah I can work with those individuals to have this application prepared. So come February of 2022, we would have an application for our masjid, whatever improvements we would say they're ready to go and submit to the state of Illinois, which is the agency responsible for administering and awarding, recommending awards for this grant.
Thank you. That's really good information. One other kind of follow up on that. What is your success rate, right? If 5 folks are all going to you for the same grant, are 3 of them getting it?
All right, to be frank, the success rate for us as a community getting any of these grants is 0. But a large part of that is because people are putting it in on the last day. They have not, we have not had an organization that has been ready to go on day 1. And so to what extent it's a function of us not having good applications, or by the time we have our applications considered, the money's ran out, that's kind of where we're at. I think at this particular point in time, I would explain it as we have not been ready for this particular grant. Now, with respect to these houses, I mean, like I said, is with where I would see another opportunity, there was a grant that was available. There's a multi-year grant for providing, for the lack of a better word, how can I put it? Like after school supervision opportunities for young people. I mean, it was geared toward the to the inner city communities, African-American, Latino. And if Masjid Taqwa gets all those particular aspects in line, that would be something that can qualify. Now, that particular one, they were looking for people with some history, in doing that. But we had no history in terms of the housing assistance. And by and large, I think one of the things that the council benefited is because it was a pandemic and the need. But now we have established a track record. The council, based on the number of applications, was praised by the Helena Department of Human Services, the extent that was what was actually done. That opportunity exists for Masjid Taqwa as well. And I think it's about how do we start in getting in one program that develops a track history, and then we build off of that.
Thank you for that. We have another hand up. Imam Tariq, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Okay, can you hear me still?
Yes.
Can you hear me? You can?
No echo right now.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the information. I've got a question that's I guess maybe a little bit outside of, but I see it in support of what you brought forth today, and that is within some masajid, there's a capacity varies. Are there any efforts, any work groups or committees that may not be existent on the masjid level that CIOGC is kind of helping to seed or kind of pull together, that believers just in general, right, can be a part of, that they can support?
One of the, let me just say this. When we started talking about the food distribution and food pantries, that went into last year. Yeah. And then we were trying to hold some meetings, or primarily, let me say, it was me trying to hold meetings, and the participation was not good. And there people didn't really want to commit to, people were willing to commit to receiving food, but I didn't have commitments for people willing to work the process. I do agree, it does need to be a, beyond one individual masjid, we can be working together. So that was done with the food program. Now, where that is right now, let me translate that is right now. There's a pantry already up on the north side. And I'm looking at, we gotta have one on the south side, and blah, 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 okay? But what we need right now are individuals that are willing to commit some time to, whatever the logistics are. Like, just think about what we had to do when we had to distribute those food donations that we received through Aurora Health. It was like having to, well, let me be frank. I had to rent a truck, drive up, get them, and bring them back. And, people were, well, bring it to me. If we can build that structure around that, then I can make a stronger case. A stronger case can be made, okay, here's the place. There was, what we were trying to do is, I don't know, Imam Diasaskia had a food pantry on the south side of Chicago, but it closed up. And we were trying to work with him to reopen that. And now that we have a direct contact now with the Chicago Food Depository. I mean, that's over a year and a half, 2 years working, because right now Chicago Food Depository isn't interested in opening up new food places. They want to expand the capacity of some that already exist. Now, the case that we made, and we're having a meeting this coming week with them, is that we represent a unique demographic that the Chicago Food Depository is not meeting, and that they should be giving consideration to opening up something that is, in essence, Muslim-based. And that's what we are at the table. They agree with, in general, the process. So what we have to do is be able to justify or show that unique need. Now, one is through special dietary restrictions that exist in the Muslim community. I mean, even with those boxes, as if you recall, man, there was some pork in them, and some people said we don't even want to touch the box, like like it was kryptonite. It destroyed the whole box. But I mean, we're getting right now the Chicago Food Depository, or really I should say the federal government has now relaxed the restrictions that now are recognizing some of these dietary restrictions. I mean, this just happened like 60 days ago. So things are happening. We need, and going to what you said, we need exactly what you're asking for. And it needs to come from within us, by us, and to be, okay, here is a group that is ready to take up the work on the south side. Because if it's dependent on the infrastructure of CIOGC, i.e. myself, and I'm all about who's gonna go to the south side. And I can't drive a truck every week. I mean, mentally I'm prepared if I could do it, but the bandwidth is stretched in too many different directions. We have to have people willing to commit to this particular process, that we can build it out. So we can have that food pantry that's addressing the needs of our greater community.
Thank you. Yeah.
And while I'm waiting, or maybe that is the last question, but let me just say this for those that inshallah remain on the line. And particularly to follow up or underscore my response to Bashir, our first initial question. The things I've shared with you today, there's other things involved that I'm trying to highlight those things that are benefit to Masjid Taqwa. And I need, in terms of what even implementing, we need we need involvement of individuals that want this. I mean, there's these two opportunities that I'm looking for the intern to work with this community nursing program. I mean, these are two individuals, they're in school, but oftentimes we don't see those kinds of opportunities come to our young people. And I need to know who they are and how they can take advantage of it. Now, with this opportunity with Aurora Advocate Health, these are real these are real positions. All right. I'm not saying there's plenty of them, but we need to apply, and they're looking to take some candidates from the council. So how do we get those individuals? How do we reach out and we can make them available? I think part of the answer is Dr. Al-Amin, as you mentioned earlier, what's the procedure? Inshallah, we'll lay that out for us. But we also need us to actively identify and recruit individuals to do this. Like I said, when we're looking at the civic engagement, how we can have interns involved in that, because if they cultivate these relationships, they're likely, if they have political ambitions, they'll access and get into these jobs. That's what happens. You have individuals, as I'm witnessing, they first may start as interns, then they working in the office, then they go to a state or government agency. Next thing, they're running for a representative. We need our young people involved in this process. It won't be enough to say we're being excluded. It is important for us to demand and take our place at the table, regardless of how fair or unfair people are treating us. It's not doing any good to be on the sideline. We need to be there as much as possible. Thank you.
And thank you, Brother Mitchell. We appreciate you. We appreciate the work that you do. And God willing, we will fill those intern positions and get these grants. I look forward to further discussions. Inshallah, dear believers, have a beautiful week. Remember that the Wellness Center grand opening is today. So if you can make it out, please do. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.